But online, I'm under MASTERTEACHER33, and so if you Google that name, it pulls up all of my information. As everyone who already know me, they already know I've been doing the online thing for, man, almost 20 years now. So I got over 300 classes, 30 books, 13 which are published. I'm working on number, well, depending on definition of what published. Most of the stuff I have already in ebook format. So I have a lot of information. Inspirational Grounds is a coffee shop, bookstore, and learning center. The mission is right there on the wall. The goal is we want to create an environment, a peaceful environment of intellectually inclined friends seeking the deeper aspects of life and godliness. So the umbrella organization is the Eagles University or the Eagles Club. EAGLE stands for Eagerly Advancing Godly Living and Economics, scripturally and scientifically. So I've set out to do something what a lot of people told me couldn't be done, which was to combine science and religion. And the reason I got into that, which is kind of the theme for tonight's set, is working as a young man. I went into, right out of high school, into the military. The military and God actually saved my life. I mean, not only figuratively, but literally. Because I was on a road, and everyone who's heard my testimony before, I don't want to spend too much time talking about it, but I grew up in a cult. And at the time growing up as a little child, obviously I didn't know that. I thought because the person that was carrying the Bible and standing up in a pulpit like this would also, after the sermon, take us back, strip us down, and beat us with this black pipe wrapped in tape. And so I just intuitively knew that something wasn't right with all that. And we were forced to, at the time, you know, they called it fasting. I didn't know. All I knew, I was hungry and I couldn't eat. And so when you're 5 and 6 years old and you got, I don't know if you ever went to bed on an empty stomach, it makes sleeping a little difficult. And so I come from a large family, that was 9 of us. My older brothers, they all, and it's really interesting, by the time everybody got 12 or 13, boom, they left. And so growing up in that environment, seeing the person who was in the image of God, who was the representation of God, gave me a faulty view. It gave me a skewed viewpoint of God. And the reason why I like to share that with everyone is because it goes a lot worse. From the beatings, the fasting. My mom actually was murdered. She, you know, they said she died, but basically she was on this purification fast. She wrapped herself up in the sheet. Now, I didn't have a relationship with my father, my biological father growing up. Now we have a great relationship. And I was able to, once I got older and got over my pain and hurt, called him and asked him, hey, Dad, what happened? Why'd you leave us? Why'd you abandon us? But see, growing up, I hated my dad because I only had one side of the story. And then when I found out the other side of the story, now that I'm older, husband, kids, I would have done the same thing. And the reason why I say that is because when we're talking about today's topic, which is reintegration, and I chose 3 words: restoration, resurrection, and reintegration. So when I worked in the prison system, when I worked as a cop in law enforcement, when I went and got my degree in psychology, and I wanted to focus on deviant behavior, because as a child I was always told that. No one could sit down and explain to me why I was deviant. I didn't know why I was deviant. All I know is that I had a lot of anger. And this anger was placed in me. I wasn't born. Now that I've had an opportunity to talk to my dad, and he said, no, when you was a little kid, you was a happy-go-lucky, smiley. Say you wasn't born a quote-unquote bad kid. So where did that disposition, where did that anger, where did that hostility come from that led me into a life? And that's when I talk to residents, we call them residents, and some of my coworkers are here from one particular organization that I work with, like a halfway house. And when I would talk with them, regardless of what capacity, whether when I worked in the prison, I worked on all the different levels, where I'm medium, I worked at the farm system, I worked at the Supermax in the penitentiary in Mexico, where everybody had life sentence, they weren't getting out. And so talking to those individuals, everyone always used to tell me, man, you're too sympathetic to the inmates. And the reason for that was because I identified with their plight. Because I was once in that particular position. And if it wasn't for the grace of God and the military, there I'd be on the other side of those bars. But thankfully, the grace of God and the military gave me an avenue or a way to express that anger. Because football did it for me in high school, but I wasn't quite big enough, quite fast enough to go on to the next level. So I had all of this hostility and all of this anger. So I went into the Marine Corps where they patted you on the back for going out and beating the snot out of somebody. So it was a great way for me to express that anger. But when I got out of the military, it all came back. I had to stop and actually do something to process my anger. And so there's a demographics. There's a group of people that some people in society like to ostracize or say they're unredeemable or they don't deserve a second chance. But I've worked with a lot of these gentlemen. I work with a lot of these women. We have, as Dee will testify to, I've helped a lot of them get jobs. They come in there, and also some of the guys who I used to work with at my previous employer. And so they know I've had the shop, so they come in and say, hey, I need a job. And so I've referred them to jobs. I've helped a lot of people get jobs. I've helped them find housing, the same stuff that I used to do, the same thing that I would do for anyone else. But the thing that I really want to talk about and the thing that I really want to promote is the system that I believe should be more, should be taught more, if you will. Because without this system, because people ask me all the time, see, I was clinically diagnosed with severe arrested development disorder, stage 5, 4, 5, I forgot the worst. That was a lady, she's from Brazil. I went to the UTS Health Science and I was a part of a special study. They wanted to know why I wasn't dead or in prison. Because they said, based on my test results, I'm not able to function. I should not be able to function in this reality. And so they wanted to know why I was able to function. And more importantly, they wanted to know how I managed to stay out of prison and how I managed to maintain a household and a job and all the other things be quote-unquote normal. So doing all of this studying, I decided to do my own research and got into the spiritual aspect of understanding how do you bring about restoration? How do you bring about resurrection? How do you bring about reintegration? How do you, that word restore or resurrection, restoration actually means to restore to its original position. So how do you restore someone to their original position? Then if you're talking about the word resurrection means to rise, to raise up. Whether you're talking about someone from the physical dead, if you want to go from a biblical perspective, or from a psychological perspective, there are many people what I call a walking dead. They have a pulse, they have a heart, but mentally they are disconnected. Most of the individuals, and a lot of the individuals, are disconnected from this thing that we call life. They cannot function in this environment. So the question is, why? And then the last word is reintegration. That word reintegration is to make someone a part of the system. Bring them back into the sheepfold, if you will, and make them a part of society. And so during my course of studying, there was these 3 words, and I talk about it all the time. If you listen to any of my shows, if you read any of my books, you know I talk about the 3 P's: the person, the place, and the position. The most important is the person. We can, and a lot of times in the system, whether we're talking, I worked in the Supermax, or if I worked at the farm system, whether I worked in a medium security system, whether I worked at the halfway house, regardless of what system, a lot of times the faith-based initiatives are not really promoted. But those 3 P's, the person of Yahushua or Jesus Christ, is very important because it gives you something bigger than or outside of yourself. So whether that name is Buddha, Allah, Muhammad, you know, a lot of people like to debate and argue about that, and and it is a good topic to debate. But when you're talking about people that are hurting, people that are dying, people that are going out and committing crimes, and they don't know why. All the people, as a life coach, so I'm online, and I've coached, and a lot of people heard my testimony. Guy, he calls his wife, left him after 20 years, joined a witch coven. So he wants to know how to get his wife back. Satanists called me, full-blown Satanists, drawing circles, pouring pigeons' blood, doing all of this stuff, conjuring up demons. He got stuff moving in his house. He conjured up something that he know how to get rid of. So he calls me. So the people I deal with, they have issues, serious issues. And so all of these people, like the brother whose wife left him and joined the witch coven. Took me a little while, but now she's at home. She's back with the family. She's back with the guy who was into Satanism. And this is a young guy. In his room while his mother and father are sleeping, he's in the back spinning circles in the triangle assignment of Solomon, and he's conjuring up demons. All this stuff I researched, all this stuff I studied. See, my goal was to become an alchemist. An alchemist is someone who has the ability to transmute the soul. Now, this is a whole other topic. I don't want to get into all the metaphysics and all the esoterical stuff. But the reason I'm saying this is because most of the residents, most of the inmates, they all know what I'm talking about. They sense that something is wrong, but they don't know what it is. So those 3 P's, and then the next 3 things, after those 3 P's, the person placed in the position is oppress, depress, possess. Every inmate, resident, man who cheated on his wife, guy who goes in HEB and steals a pack of, like I arrested one gentleman when I was doing loss prevention at Albertsons. This guy was a professor at UTSA. Drove up in a Range Rover. I arrested him for stealing cat litter. When I searched him, he had $2,500 in his pocket. I arrested him for stealing something that cost $5. He was driving a $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 car, and he lived over near the Dominion. What would possess an individual to do that? That is the level, because see, most people deal with they don't deal with the cause, they deal with the effect. And so what I try to do, and everyone who's heard my spiel about poets, the reason that we started this, the reason that this is the most dangerous thing you can do, because life and death is in the power of the tongue. You can lift someone up, and you can tear them down with your tongue. Because people don't understand what words is. If you go to the Bible and you look up that, if you look up, you see a Greek word that says grammatus. That word grammatus is also very interesting because it's the same word for the word scribe. And so a scribe is someone who is an expert in grammatus, what the occult, what the Satanists, and what the Luciferians call grimoria. Grimoria is taking the English language, which is English, a whole nother study, but English is English. English is bent light. It's sacred geometry. So when you're talking about, like some of the residents who come and visit me, who know all of this stuff, and we sit down, as Dee will attest to, and I'm explaining to them because there's 2 lights. Now, Lucifer is the light bearer and the light bringer. Most people don't know that before he left, was kicked out, he was the anointed cherub that covered. Just like if you look at an electrical cord, on this electrical cord, you can't see the electricity that's running through this cord. The only thing you see is the covering. But inside of this, if I plug it up and I take that covering off, that electricity would cause damage. So Lucifer's job, he was the covering of the light. Now most people don't understand why the Luciferians believe that that light is better than the light. Jesus Christ said, I am the light of the world. He didn't say he created light. He says he is light. So the reason that Lucifer got kicked out of heaven, the reason that poetry is the most dangerous thing you can do, because it's the same thing as making an utterance, which in the Greek, where you get the word preaching. So why does the Bible say God has chosen to use the foolishness of preaching? Preaching is very important because what preaching does is it uses sound, it uses frequency, it uses vibration, it uses waves, it uses what we call words. So this is an electromagnetic pulse. So when my ear hears these words, I don't hear with my ears, I hear through my ears. I don't see with my eyes, I see through my eyes. I don't taste with my tongue, I taste through my eyes. So I go through all of this because all of this is the studying that most of the guys that I counsel, most of the guys that I deal with, and for some strange reason, most of my clients are on the East Coast. I don't know why I haven't figured that out yet. But every month, North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Philly, Pennsylvania, those are all the people who call me. Their wives have left them. They dibbling dabbling in the occult. They deep into some secret society or some secret organization, and they don't know how to get out. And so when they call me, it's serious. And so as a poet has that same ability to restore, resurrect, and reintegrate. if they have the ability to put their words in a particular order, to invoke a particular response. And so that's what preaching is. And so that's what I do. So what I do is, as I understand the significance of it, so when I worked in the prison, I understood that I wasn't just a guard. Even though I had a uniform on, and they called me, oh, you're just a CO, you're just a nobody, I understood that that was just the rough exterior that they was projecting. Deep down inside, that was an individual who was oppressed, depressed, and possessed. That three-step process operates everywhere. If you want to add in a fourth step, it would be recess or recession. Each one of those words are a whole 2-3 hour study in themselves. Very briefly, oppressed means it's cruel, harsh, unjust treatment that is perceived. It doesn't have to be real. So when I was a police officer and I pulled someone over, and if I could not ascertain that this individual perceives that I'm pulling him over is cruel, harsh, and unjust, it's going to lead to a mental disposition that is lowered. That word depressed, you go to dictionary.com, I'll do it in any dictionary. The word depressed or depression means a lowering of one's mental state. That leads to another mental state taking over. Whether that mental state is anger, whether it's fear, whether it's lust, whether it's doubt, whether it's anger, the enemy wants to get you into an alternate state of mind. And we can get into the science, we can get into the spirituality. Again, that's for another time. The purpose of tonight's set is to shine the light on a demographics or a group of people who society don't understand because they haven't chose to dig deep enough to see that there's a human being there. There's a soul there that needs love. I don't care where you go, what you do, everybody on this planet wants to be loved, valued, and respected. Everyone just wants to be heard. People just want to know that you care. This medium of allowing people to come up here, when me and Dee opened this coffin shop, poetry wasn't even a part of this until I saw that when someone took the stage and someone in the audience listened to them, it transformed their life. Just the simple fact of allowing someone 5 minutes on the stage and look out into the audience and see people look with concern and compassion in their heart for someone, man, I mean, we've had, every time we do this set, we have someone come up to us or call us afterwards and say, brother, just allowing me the platform to be able to express myself got that anger out. So when I was a kid, football did it for a while, and then I went into the military, that did it for a while. Then I went into law firm. I've had over 40 different jobs, started 23 different businesses, owned 20, last count, 25 different cars. I don't know how many. Why did I bounce around? Why did I move around so much? Because I did not know my position. Person, place, and position. Your position is the Greek word diakonia. Diakonia is where we get our English word deacons. It means service ministry. If you do not find your service in your ministry, God gave man work before woman. You go to the Bible, you'll see that he made Adam. Then after he made him, he took him and he put him in the garden. And that's, he took him and he put him. Then he made Eve. Me, I went looking for women. I got woman, family, and all of this stuff. And then I say, man, I need a job. I need to find out how to take care of her. And then I got a job, but it wasn't sufficient enough for me to take care of my family. And so guess what I did? Start looking at, thankfully by the grace of God, I didn't actually go into it, but I entertained the idea of committing a crime. So we look at these individuals who are committing crimes, and we say they're lazy, they're no good for nothing. We don't understand why they commit these crimes. Because this brother got a family at home. He has a daughter that said, Dad, I'm hungry. I need to eat. We need to, as caregivers, as people who are in positions who have the ability to say a word, something as simple as saying a word, and more importantly, sometimes not saying nothing at all. Listening. Active listening can transform a life. So tonight, we're going to bring the poets up, and again, I always do a little intro to the set. Doesn't mean that the poets have to actually speak on that particular topic, but I like to share that because I like to bring light. All of this esoteric stuff that, and again, esoteric just means hidden. I've been doing this for 20 years, really 30 years if you want to count all the way back from high school. And the reason I've been doing it because every psychologist I talk to, Everybody that I went to for assistance, they offered me medication, but nobody could have helped me. And so when the residents come to me, when people come to me, when people call me and they say, okay, man, how did you transform your life? And I tell them about their motivated abilities pattern. Everyone has one. Everyone has a motivated abilities person. Everyone has a motivated abilities place. Everyone has a motivated abilities position. If you don't know those things, you will commit a crime. Or you will cheat on your wife. Or you're going to lie on your income tax. Or all of this stuff because there's something that motivates you because God put it in you. That's what diaconia means. It's your God-given diaconia. And I have this book over there, and me and Ray, my co-worker Ray, we used to sit around late at night over at Blackburn, and we used to talk about this kind of stuff, sharing, and then my buddy Michael Gray, we was over at Hall House, we sit around and we talking about this because we're trying to assist the residents. We don't want to just send them and just give them a job at Jack in the Box because we know that that's not what they're designed to do. They're going to go to Jack in the Box and they're going to get in trouble. They're going to show up late, they're going to have an attitude, and everybody's wondering, why this brother ain't, and why he not in his job? Because he ain't designed to be in that job. That's not his motivated abilities position. That's a position that motivates him. There's a person. If you marry the wrong person, like I did, your life will suck. Pardon my French. It's very important because you have a personality that's designed by your Creator for a particular helpmate. That's why God made Eve for Adam, because he knew that he needed a helpmate. He needed somebody to assist him. But a woman can't help you if you don't have anything for her to do. So that's why man got to have work before a woman. So all of these little things is stuff that I would like to see inside of our penal system, inside of the correction system, inside of law enforcement, inside of all of the counseling system. All of these are, especially inside of the church. I was a minister for 10 years. And most of this stuff that I talk about on my radio show, the other day I got a call from the head of the Southern Baptist Seminary debating me about something that I said. Then I get a call from the head of the new Black Panther Party telling me that, he wants me to join his organization, but make it a little bit more black, more militant. So that way I can be more effective. So I'm thinking, so sometimes I feel like a man without a country. Because, I got the religious people who don't understand the words that they're saying, so they are saying, they don't know the difference between iniquity and sin. Everybody preaches sin. Sin is living without your lot, share, and destiny. Lucifer fell because the iniquity was found in his heart. In the Bible it says that in the last days, many people would go before God and say, Lord, I did this in your name, I did that in your name, I cast out devils, I did this. And he would say, depart from me, ye workers of iniquity. Not sin. Iniquity, bam, living without the law. Iniquity means to be devoid of the law. Iniquity means there are 50, my next book I got coming out is called The 50 Commandments of Jesus Christ. I went through all of the Gospels and counted all of the commandments. I couldn't find it nowhere on Google, on the internet. I found different people have 20, 30 different. I went through the Bible and counted everything, all of the being statements. If you go to Google and type in being and then put Bible, it lists what Jesus says, be ye holy for I am holy. Be perfect. All of the being statements, those are mental dispositions. Being means a state of mind. There are 50 statements in there that I've been preaching for 20 years. I just found out about it a week ago. All I'm saying is this is what the enemy does. People, Hosea 4:6, my people perish for lack of knowledge. You can say anything about no devils, it says lack of knowledge. Most of our problems stem from lack of knowledge. Knowledge means perception, consciousness, the ability to understand. So as a poet, what we do in our jobs is very, very important that we take this seriously. I don't know, as far as I can ascertain, this is the only life we get. So I want to make it my best life. I mean, I want to spend my time uplifting the spirits of humanity instead of tearing it down. So tonight, hopefully everyone comes up here with words of inspiration. That's what the shop is called, Inspirational Grounds. These grounds are for inspiration. And that inspiration is biblical based, meaning that it has a good understanding of what the Word of God is. And that's what this set is about. It's all about giving people the ability to express their God-given diaconia, which means service and ministry. And contrary to popular belief, everyone has one, but most people don't know what it is.